I'm Sam Johnson, and today we're going to talk about the article Reading Comprehension by Learning How to Teach Reading Strategies. Now, this article really faces the issues we have head on when teaching reading comprehension strategies and why we're failing to deliver such positive results with that. And a major issue we have is that teaching reading comprehension strategies is taught directly to the student in the classroom. And what we're finding is that the teachers themselves don't really know how to teach a reading comprehension strategy correctly to a student, and they're failing to branch out. And so this article really deals with how we're going to implement that into our next generation of teachers and why we're seeing that in so many teachers today. We see a lot of the time that teachers have trouble branching out, which comes to our second point on the board, struggling to branch out, because they only use strategies that work for them or that they've seen work in other classrooms. They don't really try and test the waters for new comprehension strategies for the classroom. And a major reason for this is that they don't know about scientifically based programs that help teach them why reading comprehension strategies are so important. So it has been proven by researchers that by teaching these teachers the proper research and the proper ways to teach reading comprehension strategies, that reading would improve. The next point on our board that we're going to talk about is how we can improve. Now, we find that most students are moderate readers, but what we also find is that when using the correct reading strategy, they will exceed way past what you thought they could. So the goal is to teach them how to learn from the correct reading strategy, which has to come from us, the teachers, first. So what we found is that reciprocal teaching is one of the best ways to teach that, or RT, and this is being adapted around schools much more now than before. And what this uses is that a group reads together, and it is led by one person who alternates using these strategies: clarifying, summarizing, predicting, and clarifying. And what happens with this is, while they go through the four strategies together, they're doing all four of these things together, which is helping them take it step by step, look at each one, and figure out, okay, how are we going to summarize this? How are we going to predict this? How are we going to clarify this? And so on. And how they're going to question themselves at the end and really go through the whole passage that they've read and figure out, okay, this is step by step. They're analyzing every single portion of what they've read together. And what they also found with this is that not only does it work in improving their reading comprehension skills for primary school students, it also works in improving the reading comprehension skills in college students as well. So it really needs to be adapted in both. Okay, the next part on our board that we're going to talk about is the case study they used doing the reciprocal teaching, or RT intervention. Now, this was a case study they used over the course of a week, teaching 61 students comprehension strategies through an instructional framework. So what they did was they role played, which meant the teacher had to stand up and teach them comprehension strategies by role-playing herself as the primary school teacher, and the students role-played themselves as being the primary students. Once the students concluded with their training, they were sent out and taught 15 lessons, so 15 weeks worth of lessons using these comprehension strategies that they had learned in training. And what they found was, after the students had came back and given their reflections and their feelings on the particular training that they received, that 84% of them said that they would use these reading comprehension strategies, and the rest would not use them in their classrooms. But what we found was, out of that 84%, that many of them saw an improvement in their students that they were teaching, and saw that they were really excited about sitting down and breaking apart the things that they had to read, and that they did improve in their test scores as well. In conclusion to our article, the main point that we look at when looking at this case study was to improve reading comprehension and reading speed, which both were improved out of the 84% that said they would use this test again. So in post-test, when every one of the case study, the 61 students that took their post-test, the control group scored significantly less than the group that did say that they would use these reading comprehension strategies. And not only did they learn about teaching reading comprehension strategies in their training, they also learned how to model and scaffold, which is another really great bit of techniques that you can teach your students as well as a teacher. I think the main point that this article was trying to prove is that it's not always the kids that struggle with reading. Sometimes it's just the way that they're being taught how to read, and the way that they're being taught how to break things down into little pieces and to really analyze them and reflect. And using these comprehension strategies can really help them to score significantly higher and even read higher and faster in the classroom and outside of the classroom. So in a way, it's up to us to teach our future teachers how to sit down and really convey the message of how to take your time, take it step by step, and to really look forward to reading in the future, because a lot of our kids fear that and a lot of our kids have anxiety about that. And so for us to be able to learn how to do these things is going to benefit them. So the main point of this article was to show a case study of how teaching future teachers how to improve their reading comprehension strategies can really help to students to improve their reading comprehension strategy and to improve everything that comes along with that. Okay, now just a quick overview over what we've talked about, just to wrap everything up. The failure to implement was what we talked about when our teachers were struggling to branch out, which meant that they were struggling to find new comprehension strategies or new reading strategies to teach their students, because they were only going off of what they've learned or what they've seen be effective in the classroom, and they weren't knowledgeable about all of the different comprehension strategies that were proven to work out there and that were scientifically based and scientifically backed. So what they did was an intervention study, and they use reciprocal teaching that taught how to scaffold and modeling and role playing, where the teacher was the primary school teacher and the older students were playing the role of the primary school students. And they were taught how to summarize and clarify and all of that. And through this, they gave a reflection, and they went out and they did a 15-week lesson where they did a lesson each week. So that's 15 lessons in all, using these different techniques and different comprehension strategies that they had learned over the week-long training that they had. And out of that, 84% said that they would 100% use it, and the rest said that they wouldn't. And after a test using all the 61 students, it was proven that the ones that decided to use the reading comprehension strategies scored significantly higher and did their tests much faster than the other ones did, proving that using the right comprehension strategy can and will improve your students' reading ability, reading speed, and reading comprehension. Thank you for watching my article video summary. See you later.